Okay, so we're still looking at this question for Kenworth Enterprises. All right, they told us uh, Kenworth Enterprises experienced major operational problems which affected the company's condition, forcing management to temporarily suspend dividend payments. To temporarily suspend dividend payments. It is expected that the company will not pay a dividend in 2025, 2026, but will declare a dividend of 50 kwacha per share in 2027. Dividend growth is expected to be 3% in 2028 and 2029, and then the growth rate will become 5% from 2030 to 2034. Then after 2034, the growth rate will be 60% until infinity, until the company closes. So we already did part A and B of this question, okay? We already calculated the expected dividends, all right, using this formula, okay, DO, which represents the dividend paid, or it can also be the dividend for the current year, all right? G represents the growth rate. Okay, we use this formula to calculate the expected dividends from 2027 up to 2034. So we already did that. Part B, they ask us what is the value of the stock today. As I said earlier on, the value of a stock is the present value of its future dividends. Okay. And then what we can also see here, this dividend is growing at different rates. Okay. During different timelines. So we know to calculate the value of the stock, we're going to use the growth phase model because the dividend is growing at different rates. Okay. Now, when the dividend is growing at different rates, okay, after the year 2034, okay, because the company is not going to close in 2034, it's going to be still exist in existence 2035, 2036, 2037, 2038. So for all those years after 2034, we have to also account for those dividends also. Okay, colleagues? We also have to account for the dividends for after 2034. So with the growth phase model, the terminal value comes in, right? The terminal value is the one that's going to account for the dividends after 2034. Okay. So just a recap of part B, because today we're focusing on part C. I already did a video where I calculated this part A and part B. But I want us to get the context for those who never watched the video. So yeah, to get still on part B, to get the value of the stock, as I said, we're getting the present value of the future dividends and the terminal value basically. And we're using the formula we used to use in the time value of money. Okay, where you say present value, here I've written it down. Present value equals future value 1 plus r to the power negative t. So all the expected dividends from 2025, I know 2025 is not, since there's no dividend paid, but according to the timeline, from 2025 up to 2034. All those dividends, we have to convert them into the present value today, the value today basically. And apart from that, we also have to get the present value for our terminal value. which represents the dividends after 2034. So the first thing we did, we got our terminal value. Okay, this is the formula for the terminal value. It just this is the same formula which we also use in the constant growth model, where the dividend just grows at a constant rate forever. Okay, so this is one point I need you to remember. The way we get the terminal value is the same way like you're calculating the value of a share with a dividend with a constant growth rate. So we'll see this formula being used again. But this is also the same formula used to calculate our terminal value. Okay. Any questions? Should I repeat myself? Have we all understood that part, or should I repeat myself? Yeah. The same way we calculate the value of a share using this constant growth model here. Okay. The formula for the value of a share using the constant growth model is just the dividend over the required rate of return minus the growth rate. This is the same formula we're going to use to calculate our terminal value. Okay, colleagues? That's how we calculate our terminal value. This formula, it just represents dividends that will grow at the same rate forever. And according to our question, after 2034, the dividends from 2035 until the company closes is going to grow at a constant rate of 6%. It will never change. We're assuming it won't change. It will be just 6% until the company closes or until the end of time. So the same formula we use to calculate the value of a share using the constant growth model is the same way we use to calculate our terminal value. And our terminal value represents the dividends from after 2034 till infinity, until the company closes. Okay. So yes, the dividend for the terminal value, you just get the dividend for 2034 multiplied by 1 plus the growth rate, the constant growth rate. And that constant growth rate was 6%. All right, so we calculated the dividend and then we just divided it by the required rate of return, which was given in the question, 10%, and we subtracted it from the growth rate. So once you get your terminal value, get the present value for all the expected dividends and the terminal value. Okay, you have to get the present value for all of those things. That's how you find the value of the share today. So you will see those calculations in the previous video. All right. Today, what we're focusing on is this. We want to find the value of part C. Here it says, if you were to buy shares in Kenworth Enterprises in 2029, what price would you be willing to pay per share? Ignore inflation. So, want to find the value of these shares in 2029. So, we have to get the present value of the future dividends after 2029. Okay, 2029 is our starting point. Okay. So we can make a timeline also like this one here. Let me make the timeline. Want to find the value of the shares in 2029. So our year 0 is 2029. Year 1 will be 2030. Year 2 is going to be 2031. Year 3 is going to be 2032. Year 4 is going to be 2033. Year 5 is going to be 2034. Okay. Then after 2034, this is where the terminal value comes in. So also in year 5, we are going to include our terminal value. Okay. Don't put the terminal value in year 6. No, the terminal value should be in the last year of the sequence of years that you've been given. So in this case, our last year in this question was 2034. So on the number line, also our terminal value is going to be at the same place. All right. Because we're assuming that this 6% is going to happen at the end of 2034. So we have to discount the dividend for 2030 back to year 1, for 2031 back to year 1. All these dividends and the terminal value, we have to discount them back to 2029. Okay. So this information here on the dividends, this is what we calculated when we were getting our expected dividends earlier on in the question. These we calculated for our expected dividends, and our terminal value we also calculated it here. So we need to discount this into today's value. So as I said, we're still using the present value formula. Present value equals the future value, which is these dividends here, multiplied by 1 plus r to the power negative t. This is represented by the discount factor here. It's 1 plus r to the power negative t. That will be the discount factor. So for 2030, since it's year 1, it's going to be to the power negative 1. For 20, that's what I'm calling it? Okay. Yes. So where were we? Yes. So the dividends represent the future value, and then our discount factors are here. And from this number line, we take note of the year. So 2030 to the power negative 1, since it's 1 year away from 2029. 2031 to the power negative 2. This is 2 years from 2029. 2032, we put to the power negative 3 because it's 3 years from 2029. Colleagues, any question on that? Are we okay with that? Okay. So we're just multiplying. 55.7 times 0.909, 50.64. 58.5 times 0.28645, this value here. 61.41 times 0.75131, 46.14. 64.48 times 0.68, 44.04. All right. So all these values, you multiply them with the discount factor. And after you're done with the multiplications, you just add all of these values. 50.64 plus this, plus that, plus that, plus that, plus that. You get 1,034, 1,345.04. 0.13. So this is the value of the stock in 2029. Okay, this is the value of the stock in 2029.